Hey guys, Kev here, and I'm gonna do this a little backwards. I am adding this portion to the beginning of my video because in the first impressions, we'll call it, I also did an assembly and got a little frustrated along the way. But I wanted to give an update, and I figured I'd do it in the beginning because this is more longer term impressions than what you're gonna see. So anyway, this is the American Edge exclusive Yeager V3 from Brian Brown Knives, and I really like it overall. Very, very good knife. I can recommend it, etc. So go forth and buy a V3 if that is what you so desire. But in that video that you're going to see here in a second, I was struggling with a couple of things in terms of the disassembly and sort of design details. The main thing is this pivot design. I just don't like it. And, you know, I apologize in advance. I'm going to harp on that quite a bit in that video. You guys know me. I get caught up with stuff, my OCD. But basically, it's just a frustrating design for me. This screw is attached to the barrel. It's welded on or milled out with the screw attached. And then the barrel goes through, and then there's a little nub on the end of the barrel with some threads. And that goes into this piece right here, which has a hole with some female threads. So the male side comes off the pivot barrel and into here, and you screw that in. So it's a little frustrating when you're trying to take it apart because you have to unscrew this, and then you have to know when this is unthreaded, and then you have to pop this out somehow, unscrew these two, and pull this side off, and then do whatever you're going to do. And then when you put it back together, you got to kind of put this piece in there, and then screw this side in. And then the worst part is just this tooling is just really not good. It really wants to slip your bit out. It's a T15, and you can see I marred it up just taking the knife apart. I mean, I wasn't doing anything crazy. It just doesn't want to hold your bit. So just use a fresh bit and be very careful. But anyway, that part frustrated me. And then design-wise, I just really don't like that screw right there. It's going to be a personal preference thing. I wish it was down here or just gone. I wish they just went with the glue. Or maybe give us a filler tab and a screw here, and then we could have had a reversible clip. That might have been cool. You probably would have needed a second clip, but I don't know, might have worked. But I do love the bolster lock design or sub frame lock design for lefties, which is really nice. I'm going to talk about all this in the video. And basically, I was just trying to get this thing centered up, and I got it as close as I could in the video there, and then I let it sit. It has been 2 days, and I've been carrying this today and flipping it and whatnot, and so far it's settled kind of right there, which is almost center. I mean, that tip is damn close to center. It's not, but it's close, and then the grind you can see up here is a little off as well. It's over to this side. Now, one thing I want to say on that is it's, you know, it's a hollow ground knife. It's done by hand, I would assume. You have, you know, artisans who are skilled doing these hollow grinds, and you know how hard it's got to be to get this perfectly straight every time when you're making 1,000 knives or however many there are. So this being almost perfect, I think is fine. And I've had that on most of my Yeagers, so I think that's just going to be the nature of the beast with that type of a grind. And so I'm mentally letting it go, but I'm going to talk about it in the video coming up. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it since I picked it back up today. I got it dialed in pretty well. I mean, it's not drop shut, but I've never really had a drop shut Yeager. And I'm honestly at the point where I don't need a guillotine. If it swings down, I'm happy. And then I can shake it a little bit to close it. I mean, I can compare it to my custom Strix. The way I have this tuned, you know, I got to give it a little shake, and then it wants to close down. I think this is a little bit smoother, like a little more frictionless in here, where the Yeager tends to just, I don't know, I think there's just more stuff contacting stuff, but there's no side to side, there's no in and out, there's no, you know, no play at all. It feels great. So I got the detent dialed in. You can see there, you can still bind it up left-handed if you don't, like, it's just the way you hold your hand. If you hold it like this, you'll get it. If you go with the go-to clip move, you'll get it. But if you put a little too much pressure down this way on that lock bar, you will bind it up. So, you know, you just got to figure it out. It's still better than a full frame lock, obviously. But right-handed, this thing is really good. And I think what I'm going to do this time around is actually use it. I feel like the other Yeagers I've had, I never really wanted to use them for more than just tape, because I was afraid that I was going to roll the edge because of how thin it is, and I've seen people literally roll their edges. But I don't really cut like crazy thick cardboard or anything like that, so I think I'm going to give it a go and see how it is, and then I'll do a more, you know, longer term review down the line. But it's really, really good. I love this version. I think American Edge really did a great job choosing finishes and the camo carbon, the gecko camo carbon. It just looks really good. One other thing I want to note, shout out to Zach. He pointed this out to me, and the belt satin seems to be finished at a higher grit. If you see, it's just not as like chalky as they used to be from Riot. They would stand out more, and then they would be kind of chalky when you touched them. And I think maybe they did that to limit that chalkiness, so you don't just have fingerprints all over the place. I'm trying to think of an example. I think this this one from Jack Wolf will show you what I mean. See how it's kind of chalky? That's what I've always called it, milky. This Best Tech made knife has it as well, the Vero. When you touch it, you just get like these chalky white fingerprints all over the place. This one's a little less like that because I think they used a higher grit when they polished it or finished it or whatever. So I don't know. I kind of think that's a good thing, but I'm not positive on that yet. But either way, I just wanted to include this short intro to the video because I got a bit frustrated with this pivot system, and I think rightfully so. If I missed anything, if there's something obvious that I didn't do or don't know, please let me know in the comments. I'm obviously not perfect. I screw shit up all the time, so I'm here to take the hit if that's what happened here. But yeah, this is just a bit I don't know. That tooling is what really makes it difficult when you add in how it all comes apart. But fantastic knife overall. Stoked with it. I was frustrated that day. I mean, I was basically trying to sell it after that video, and I'm glad that I just gave it a little bit of a breather, let that Loctite settle. It's good enough, and you know, I think the lesson here is, as usual, sorry, dogs, as usual, I think the lesson is just, if the knife is 95% what you want out of the box, just don't mess with it. You know, it's not that I shouldn't be able to take my knife apart. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing. It's not that you 100% should be able to center your knife back up and everything. But you know what? They assemble them as best they can at the shop when they make these. And I think for the most part, it's better to just let it lie. But you know me, I'm always like, I gotta get skiffs in there. So then you try to put skiffs in, and then you're like back and forth because it doesn't feel perfect. And you know what? Sometimes it's better to just carry the knife, use it for a couple weeks, let it break in, and then see, okay, at this point, after a couple weeks, do I think I should put skiffs in here or do whatever? Do some kind of maintenance. But doing it right out of the box, I think sometimes actually is a negative. So I just want to put that out there. But sweet knife, V3s. Oh, I did want to show you. They are sold out at American Edge. So congrats to American Edge. Great job selling those. They do have them at River's Edge Cutlery in this pretty cool, like, all brown version with black wash blade. I really like that. This one's $474 because it has zirconium accents. Then we have one at NC blade that looks sick. If I was going to get one that was blacked out, which, you know, I'm a satin guy. I do wish they did a black wash, but this does look pretty good. This is the Arctic Fat Carbon Black PVD everything. And this one's $3.99. And then there's one at E-Knives that's a bit more pimped out. You're talking zirconium everything and then hand satin. That one's $5.15. But those are all available at this current moment when I record this. So I just want to put that out there because I know some people are going to be looking. So let me know your thoughts down below. I appreciate you guys checking this out. I'm going to carry this and use it. And man, it really does feel great in the hand. That's one takeaway. The action feels pretty damn good as well. And yeah, so love you guys. And check out the rest of the video if you want to. But that's pretty much sums it up there. Hey guys, Kev here. And I want to talk about the Brian Brown Knives Yeager V3. So this is a new knife that just came out. There was a pre-order and then drops, and I was able to snag one from American Edge. Go check them out. I'll link them down below. Very cool people. Really cool dealer that I honestly didn't really know of until I was at Blade West, and one of their employees, Dave, he does a lot of their customization, I believe. I met him, and really cool guy, and that kind of gave me the spark to look at them and whatnot. But they seem like really good people there, and hopefully we'll be picking up more stuff from them. But this is their exclusive. They have this Gecko camo carbon, the blue accents, and then you have the bead blasted frame, and you have a belt satin M390 blade. This was $399 retail. I used a code. If it's your first time ordering from them, you can use a code NEW10. I'll get you $10 off. And I ordered this Friday on the drop, Friday afternoon, and this thing was here Monday, which is pretty impressive to me. They also wrote me a note, which was very nice. Brittany over there said thank you, and she said she's a fan of the channel, which is pretty damn cool. I appreciate that, and I wish you guys a Merry Christmas too. Thank you, Brittany. That made my day, actually. So, this knife, I have a long history with the Yeager, as you guys may know. I've been a big fan of the model for a long time, but it's been really hit or miss with me. The first one I ever got, I think I have a video on it. I just didn't really love how unlefty friendly it was, and I sold it pretty quickly to my buddy Jake, Bearded Gear. And that was back in the heyday of the Yeager when it was very hard to get. You would pay way over a table for it. I think, you know, they were going for like $400, $450 back then on secondary, which was like 100 or so, 150 over table. Well, this now costs $400. So there's inflation for you. Now, this one has camo carbon and looks sweet. So, you know, it's a lot of money. I do think it should have been closer to $350 like they were before, but I get it. So you have the differences between the V2 and the V3 are the inlay versions have actual sort of bolster locks now, versus just having this one kind of inlay on the back side and then having the frame lock. So as a lefty, it really makes it a lot better. And I will say that's one of the significant changes here. For me, it may not be for right-handed people, but you can see, instead of having to pick it up and find the clip like I used to, which I'm kind of used to at this point, now I can just pick the knife up however I like, right? Wherever I land, I can fire from, which is really nice. That's a nice touch. This new pivot system, I have to tell you, I really, really dislike it. I get it. He wanted to have a captive pivot system, probably something he could incorporate in multiple models. I think the Corvus has the same model or system. But it just is frustrating to me. I've taken this apart like 3 times now, and I put the multi-row skiffs in there, and there's a couple issues I have with it. First off, the tooling on this screw is atrocious. It's damn near horrible. So the way it's tooled, it's set up for a T15. I tried a T20 because I know some people are going to say, well, maybe you just need to size up, which I thought of too. Here's a T20 right there, T20. And while you can kind of get it in there, it doesn't slot in. It's barely even getting in. If I start putting any pressure on that, it's just going to strip out. So T15 it is. Well, the T15 slots in there. It feels pretty nice, but did you see that? It's like it's almost designed to ramp your bit out of the tooling. So as soon as there's any resistance, it just wants to jump. And it's not just me. I've talked to other people already that have the same exact issue. And it's very frustrating when you have a knife like me where the centering just does not want to line up. And so I need this to get just a little tighter, right? And I think I have the room to do it because you can see the blade dropping there. There's no play, maybe minor amounts of play. So I think I could put a little bit more on that, but I just can't because as soon as I start, it really wants to just jump out of there. So you can only go so tight, which can be frustrating. And then the centering. Now, OCD me says that tip is damn near dead centered. It's not, but it looks dead centered on some angles. But you can tell immediately the spine is not centered. You can see there's a bigger gap here than there is there. And if you turn it on an angle, it's very obvious that the tip is also not centered. Okay? Now, granted, this is after I took it apart. So maybe it was perfectly centered when I took it apart. I think a knife should center up, but I'm not going to blame this on, anybody but me, right? I'm just giving you my frustration. So I was thinking, all right, well, maybe I'll throw these back in and we can see if then it centers up and then it's just me, right? I tried that already, but it didn't work, but I'll show you and then maybe we can see what I'm talking about there. The other frustration I have with this pivot design is it's just weird. So this screw is actually connected to the barrel that then has threading on the end of it. And that goes into this guy. Okay? And so when you take the knife apart, you have to push really hard because you do not want to come out. And you can tell already, if I sell this, which it's possible, I'm probably going to have to take a hit just immediately because this looks shit now. Just from a normal takedown. You guys have seen me take a million knives apart. I don't strip screws left and right or scratch them up or whatever. It's just this tooling is just not great. I do want to say that I love the exclusive design. I think American Edge did a fantastic job choosing finishes and whatnot. So just beautiful, really, really beautiful. That gecko carbon fiber works really well with the blue, and the belt satin is great, and the non-flipper is great. It is very comfortable in hand. It does seem like Brian took some effort to fix some of the hot spots I feel like we had on previous ones. It just feels a lot more rounded in all areas, except for the tip of the clip is sharp. Even this right here feels like you can even see he built in sort of a chamfer there so that it wouldn't be as sharp, which I really appreciate that. So there's a lot of cool things. The plunge grind is still just as bad as it was previously. You can see where the plunge comes down. It's after edge termination. So you're going to get a smile pretty much immediately. But I'm not a sharpener, so it doesn't bother me all that much. But I do wish that would have been addressed. The hollow grind feels fantastic. And that could be one of the reasons for that spine not lining up perfectly. Although I really think it's just the tip. If we can get that over, then we could get that over, and then it would probably just be close enough for me to be like, cool. And it bothers me more on some knives than others. Like I have this Richard Rogers X-Mid that I love to death. And this one's definitely a little off-center to this side. And somehow it doesn't bother me at all. But I think it's hidden a little better, right? It's not like... just like, well, bam, you know, here I feel like it just hits you in the face. I don't know. I'm weird, right? It's just how it is. So the way you have to take this apart is very interesting. So pressure, I just give it a lot because I really don't want to strip it more. So you have to unscrew this, and it's unthreading out of this guy right here, which is terrible in my opinion, but whatever. It has to essentially, to know that it's loose, I mean, technically you could take the knife apart and then see, but like you kind of have to unthread until it jumps, until it gets out of the threads and then hops back onto the thread. So you almost have to sit here and like expect to pop out of the thread. It's really awkward. So here you can see it's sticking out more now. It's not coming off, so it's not loose yet. Let's see. Okay, I think we got it. So there you go. So, and then there's the pivot with the threading on it. I just don't like this. So then what you have to do is take off these screws and take it apart on this side. Because if you would take it apart like you think from this side, right, it kind of comes apart in a weird way and it doesn't make sense. The tooling on all the other screws are really, really good. I think they're fantastic. And one other little gripe I have, actually it's kind of a big gripe. This screw right here just annoys the shit out of me. Don't know why it had to be there. Even if it had to exist, like why not right there? These are all design things, so like everybody's gonna be different. Some of you guys are gonna love where these things are and how it's set up and all that. But yeah, that one's just like, man, it's right there. It's like parallel with this one's just weird. And why did we need it? The glue was fine last time. Must have had some issues with people in the glue, I guess. So here is the knife apart. Pretty basic, just a knife. And we can set these aside and see what happens when we put these in. Got some schmutz and shit there, so let's clean that up. Let me just clean them all over here. Okay. So it should still be lubed up plenty from before, but hey, let's just be smart. We'll put a little bit on. Shoot. Still got that crazy, awesome warranty blade. Okay, and then you gotta kind of pop this side on through the pivot like that. It's just kind of weird. Feels weird, but I mean, it's okay that it's different. As long as it works, right? So then you have these, and I've found that with these body screws, you really don't even want to tighten, like you just want to barely get them started because they throw off the centering quite a bit. So if you tighten those too early. So now you have to take this guy and put it into the slot and push the pivot back through. So now the pivot popped back out this side. Then I have to take this and it's just, okay. I just want to shut this because it'll fall if I don't. So then I got to squeeze everything, keep some pressure here. And you can see that, how it just wants to, jump out of the tooling. It's insane. So you have to put a lot of pressure forward, and guess what? A lot of pressure, and you make a mistake, you know what happens? We scratch some shit. So you just got to keep it really straight. You want to come in dead on to that tooling, because if you're on any angle, you're popping right out of there. So you can see we're starting to get her going here, but it's getting tight, and I'm just so afraid of popping it out of there. So she said. So I don't know how tight we are right now because I didn't tighten these. So I'm just gonna give it a little more and see if we can. Okay, it's starting to want to slip, so I'm gonna chill. Now I'm gonna tighten these down. So you can see that's where we're at right now. We're clearly not centered on the backspacer. So I'm going to loosen these as well. Just a little bit. Let everything kind of fall together. And then what I want to do is kind of push the blade this way, because that's the way I want the blade to go. And then I'm going to tighten these down. I'm going to get this side. I'm going to get this guy down here. And then I'm going to get this guy down here. I'm trying to keep that pressure. All right. Now, so let's see where we ended up. That looks really good. It almost looks like it's centered up here. It's not. Again, you can tell just slightly tighter on this side. Blade looks perfect, but let's see if we can flick it, and if it doesn't just, usually what happens is it looks perfect. I flick it and close it once, and it's boom, it's back over there. So let's just see. Okay, do we have any play? We have no play. Yeah, no play, feels good. Let's see if it falls. With good action. Okay, now let's see if we could hold that. And yeah, I think it came over a little bit. It's still close. This is basically where we were at with those. And to be honest, you know, no play. The action feels damn near identical. It might have been a little bit better on the multi-rows. But the stock bearings are really good. There's really nothing wrong with them. Now, I did put a little bit of tension on the lock bar, so one of the times I had it apart, I literally did very little. I didn't even take the scale off or anything. I just kind of, the inlay, I just kind of put a little bit of pressure inward. It seemed to maybe add just a touch of strength to the detent, but it didn't take away from the lock bar. Still feels just as soft in a good way as it did before. And now it does have a little bit of a click when it closes. Where before it was kind of a reverberating thud, which I don't like very much. So that's nice. And it's pretty good. It's just not perfect. But I think for 99% of people, this is, you know, this is great. And I'm not going to sit here and, I mean, it's splitting hairs. It feels great. So I think we got it. I'm probably just going to leave it like this. Now, the other concern with this is Loctiting it becomes very difficult, because how do you do that? Well, you can't check your tightness and then add the Loctite. You definitely don't want to glue it. Plus, I promised Brian I would never glue another one of his knives. But this system really, really does not lend itself to wanting to use super glue, so I would never do that. What I would do is take the whole knife apart again, unfortunately, and then add a little bit of thread locker to the end of that pivot area and put it all back together and do exactly what I did. It's just you only have this much threading to put thread locker on, so it's a little harder. Now, I'm guessing this system is supposed to remove that need. You know, so maybe you don't need Loctite with it. I find usually with captive systems, you still do need it. But, I mean, it's worth exploring and finding out. I mean, so far, it looks like we've held pretty well, you know. Well, maybe there's a little bit of play now. See, that's the thing. And you can't just take the pivot out, take the screw out, clean everything, and then put Loctite on it. You have to essentially disassemble the whole knife, or you'd have to take this off, pull that out, push the pivot out, and then you probably would need to re-loosen these. You're basically taking the knife apart again anyway, just to do the Loctite. So we should probably do it, and then we'll just be done with it, right? Is that probably the smart move here? Yeah, there's that little bit of play. It's not the end of the world, and the action feels really good. But it doesn't seem to make a difference if you put skiffs in it. So, just for shits and giggles, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Get in this tooling. Okay. I kind of felt it fall out there, so maybe that's the way you do it. Don't put pressure here. Now, I could technically try to squeeze some Loctite in there with something, and then, but I just don't know if that's smart. So I'm gonna go full on disassembly. I do wish this screw right here was black. If it had to exist, I think black made more sense. But again, a lot of this stuff is just me nitpicking. That's what I do, guys. So, are we going to leave the stock? Yeah, we'll leave it all stock. So basically what I need to do is just take some alcohol here on a Q-tip, one of these KPL Q-tips, and then I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to clean the inside, because this is what I'm Loctiting. You know, this thing is titanium, which is also probably not the best, because it's not going to, the threads aren't going to be as good as a steel barrel would be, you know? But I guess this barrel is steel, so I don't know. So I'm just cleaning this. Okay. Now I need to put Loctite on it. So grab the Loctite, shake it up, and put it on a piece of paper over here. Make sure I get the thick kind. Don't get the runny little pre-cum. You don't want that. Scoop it. I got my Loctite, and I'm gonna angle this, and that's where I need to get it on those threads. So I'm just going to try. There we go. Get it just on the threads, which is pretty difficult considering how tiny this thing is. Jesus. All right, I think I got some on there. So then I'm just gonna clean out the face here. I don't want that. There we go. So you can see I've gotten a little bit of Loctite there. So now, since we have a stop pin in, I'm just gonna actually close it. I think that's smart. And then we're gonna put it back together. Like so. Just make sure it's not bottoming out. Okay. So now we take these guys, and again, loose. Loose. I just want to get them in there, right? And then I might even loosen these a touch. My hand is cramping and it sucks. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to lay this guy in. And I'm going to push that pivot through. Like that. Then I'm going to hold it and hopefully not jump out as I start the thread. There we go. All right. Pull it in. Get her as tight as we can go. Without jumping. Okay. So now that's where we're at. We squeeze. Well, actually, I'm going to loosen this one a little more. Loosen this one a little more. Okay. So just let everything kind of settle. Open it. Close it. Okay. And then I'm going to push this way and tighten this guy. Keep it pushed and tighten this guy. Come back to this one. Down to here. Okay, take a look. Doing pretty damn good, actually. And just snug up everything. And again, we got to see where we're at after a flick or two. But man, that's pretty much perfect for me now. Of course, it's gonna, as soon as I flick it, check for tightness. Feels good. That's nice. Please just stay where it was. That's pretty fucking good to me. Okay. So, I am literally not going to touch this because if I keep flicking it, it might loosen that up, you know, whatever. So I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to let it sit for 2 days. I'm not going to touch this for 2 days. And then I will come back to it and we'll see where we end up. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. I like that changes were made to, you know, improve the design in certain ways. You know, it's not going to work. Like, changes aren't going to work for everybody, right? So, you know, it's just not my jam the way this pivot is set. I like to tinker with my knives. You know what I mean? So it doesn't lend itself greatly to tinkering. But now that I've messed with it a little bit, I kind of got the hang of it. This tooling, though, is definitely an issue. I think if that were better, if that were just like these T8s felt, you know, you can really get in there, then I think it would be even better. But having to worry about that so much while you're messing with this can be frustrating, you know? But it's still a beautiful design. It's, you know, it's a Yeager. You know, I just need to get over my OCD with this part up here. That's all. And that's a me thing. And yeah, so there you go. That's the Yeager MV3 American Edge Edition. Great job from them. And check out their shop. I obviously paid for this full price and everything. And yeah, we got another Yeager in the books. It's great left-handed. That's one thing, hopefully I said earlier. It is very, very good left-handed. So that is a huge plus for the new Yeager. If you are a lefty and have been waiting for a Yeager to either be left-handed or easier to use lefty, this is your guy. So let me know what you guys think down below. Do you have one of these? Do you have the Corvus? Have you tried this pivot system? What do you think of it? Any other feedback you guys want to give me would be great. And yeah, check it out. Love you guys. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.